Hi there, Dungeons and Dragons folks. Today I want to talk a little bit about using music in your games. Um, you can do it as a player and also as a dungeon master. Hang on, my alert to do this video is going off. um, so it's not that easy to do as a player, or there's not a ton of space for it. Um, the one place where it is possible is if you're playing a bard musician. That's a really great thing to do. To have like a couple songs prepared ahead of time that maybe you can sing while you play if you want, or poetry that you can read that you've written. I think that's pretty cute, and the party usually appreciates it. It can really change the mood of a game. Um, with my bard, I have a playlist on YouTube of about 20 songs um, that like he can play, or that I feel represent him in some way. Um, let's see. Oh yeah. So where that can come into play, mostly you would need something acoustic and vocal if you want to fit it in or make it seem like the kind of thing that they could play in a bar or something. Um, however, there's a really cool spell that got released through Unearthed Arcana, and it's called Unearthly Chorus. It's a first level spell. The powers are pretty simple. I think um, like anyone who's within 30 feet of you and is not hostile, who's listening to your music, makes a save against your performance check, and if they fail, they are friendly to you for 1 hour. Um, but the effect described in the spell is that an unearthly chorus of sound accompanies you, which pretty much opens you up to doing anything in terms of modern music that your character might want to play, and it's still making sense in the fictional circumstances. So, yeah, that's great. Totally recommend that. Really fun way to inject whatever you want. Bon Iver, if you're into that, or some music from Game of Thrones that maybe you like, or Lord of the Rings, or any of like your favorite pop stars that you feel basically have the same voice as your character. Um, yeah, it's a really cool little technique. And doing that essentially has the same effect as when the Dungeon Master does, is it changes the mood. Um, so one thing that I've heard Matt Mercer does, and other DMs is, and now I do, is I organize my music based on feeling and tone that I expect the music to provoke. Um, it's pretty straightforward. If you're listening to music at home and you're letting it wash over you, it's going to have an effect on your mood, and for me anyway, it definitely stimulates my imagination. I imagine for other people it does this as well. The music can carry you to different places. So it does that in groups too, and it does that when we're all together and playing this game. So it's a way to sort of stimulate the party, um, and create an atmosphere. I wouldn't don't overplay your music. Use it like at an effective point and have a lot of kind of ambient sounds and peaceful music and stuff like that that can just fade into the background and let the party take control of the mood. It's good if you do want to do a mood shift, if you want to surprise someone or they're going to walk in on a situation that's shocking in some way or big in some way, or terrifying in some way. It's a really great way to make that shift. And all you got to do is hit the play button, and then roll with it. Um, there's a lot of great music. I definitely recommend ripping stuff off from movies that you like, um, because that is serving a similar purpose. as it would in a D&D game. So, yeah, and there's lots of great movies for it. I mean, pick your favorites. I use Cowboy Bebop for some of my music. I use Apocalypse Now for some of my music. Um, a little bit from Kill Bill. And then video games. There's some great stuff. Since I'm doing a jungle one right now, Donkey Kong Country from the Super Nintendo, I've pulled some stuff out from there. And other video games, Fez, if anyone ever played that, there's a great musical chiptune artist named Disaster Piece who threw together a ton of stuff for that. So go out there, find it. There's so much to be hungry for in terms of like your creative inspiration and what's gonna turn you on while you're doing your game. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a pleasure to me to come up with that stuff and then to listen to it and hear these playlists over and over again, and it's fun to see how they evolve and see what sort of character they take on. And it's good to set a mood. As a dungeon master, I have a playlist for a whole continent, like my jungle continent, the map that you see behind me, Chult. I have a playlist for the frozen north. I have a playlist for a desert environment, and for the Underdark. So I have all these different playlists that evoke so many different kinds of moods and so many different kind of atmospheres, and they really turn on my imagination. So that is a huge tool for prep and in-game. So, yeah, I really recommend it. What I would caution against is something that I've done is I'll hear a song and it'll really inspire me to like write a certain scene, and then I'll put that music in the scene and try and play it out the same way I did in my imagination. I don't think that works as well. I would recommend just if you have something that's inspiring, put it in and see the effect that it has, and let it work on you in the moment. Don't try to recreate something that maybe you created before. At least that's been my experience, because it keeps us in the flow of like the actual moment-to-moment inventing the story as we go. So, yeah. And then if you've got a character and you want to get to know a little bit about the inner life of that character, or imagine things about who they are and how they think and what's going on behind them and the significant events in their lives, music can be really powerful. And also for maybe imagining how they might act in situations in the future, you can really deepen your relationship with an imaginary character that way. So that's pretty much it for music. There's lots of great stuff for sound cues that you can find. Apple has a bunch built in. It's called, I think, the Apple Sound Library, where you can get some really high quality stuff. But all over the internet, there's really good Foley sound effects that you can use for your game, which do add immersion and add a sense of place to it. It's a difficult job being a dungeon master. I mean, you're being like the soundboard operator for your entire show, and an actor in it, and kind of a director and a writer. It's a big task, and what's fun about it is that there's so much meaty stuff that you can do. Yeah, the last thing I'll say is I'm going to try in my jungle campaign to have my friend run sound as we play, so he'll be working off what I do and running all the sound from that. So that will be interesting. It'll be a fun trial. And it'll probably really surprise me. So I'm looking forward to that. So as always, thank you for watching, and feel free to let me know if there's anything inspiring here, or any of your experiences using music, or if there's something like, man, this really made me want to do X for my character. I'd love to hear about it, and know that this is coming across. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.